this is our first speaker from the US, and so thank you so much for joining us. And I'm thrilled to welcome Corinna Cornejo to the, there she is, to our screen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. Hello, how are you, Corinna?
Good, good, thanks. It's morning here, although morning on the other side of the date line from you.
Wonderful. So. Well, good morning to you at what I'm sure is a far more civilized time of morning, however. Now, one of the, we really did want to present lots of different examples and experiences. And thank you so much for joining us and providing us with the type 2 diabetes experience. And we know that sometimes it is quite difficult to find people who perhaps would like to share their experiences. So thank you so much for coming on. And you're going to be talking with us about data and how you use it as a person living with type 2 diabetes. So thank you very much, and take it away.
Well, thank you for having me. So I am even more old school than Amin. I use MDI and a cloud-connected glucometer. I am an insulin-using person with type 2. So, and I'm going to talk a little bit about not so much technology, but another very old school aspect of treating your diabetes and getting access to the technology that, the right technology for you in the right time. And that's more about, the relationship you need to have or build with your primary care physicians. So, a little bit about me. My name is Corinna Cornejo, and you might know me online as Type 2 Musings. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes a dozen years ago. So I think I've developed a little bit of perspective, hopefully. Not just older, but also wiser. When I was diagnosed, my A1C was above 13. That converts roughly to a little over 18 mmol per liters. And I was too ignorant about diabetes to understand how serious that was. But thankfully, my doctor at the time was not. And over the next 18 months, I managed to cut my A1C pretty much in half. And I did that using a simple, unconnected, but very accurate glucometer and an app for logging. I also did start taking some medication and changed lifestyle habits. But, I look at myself as proof of you can manage diabetes well, you can make improvements, you can have, progress in your health without using a lot of technology or a lot of sophisticated technology. And, over the years, I've used some different things. I've used CGMs, I've used connected devices, I've used fitness trackers to help me manage diabetes. And at different times, they've been helpful in different ways. But right now, my current setup is very, very simple. I use a connected glucometer that I share data with my my physician. I also have a fitness tracker that keeps track of my steps, and I have an app for logging. So, very, very, very simple, but it works for me. And I think, that's, the broad brush of my experience. Looking back, I just want to share a few observations. And the big thing for me with connected care and devices is that I do think that it presents an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you and your provider to get more data and information, but more importantly, to gain insight into how your diabetes is going. I look at my glucose readings, and I can get a sense of where my numbers are at in between labs. I can get alerts in the moment when my glucose goes too low or too high. And I have to say that, you know, after bringing my A1C down so dramatically in that first year and a half, I really did feel confident about my ability to manage my diabetes. And I felt like I could trust my own judgment. And that, I think, has served me really well. And it's the kind of experience that I sort of wish on everybody when they're first dealing with diabetes. You know, if you can get big wins and build your confidence and trust that you know what you're doing, or if you feel confident enough to ask the questions you need and look for the help you need, and get it, I think that in the long run serves people so much better than saying, you know, here's the new shiny device and it'll solve all your problems for you. Because as we've heard, sometimes it doesn't. The downside about being connected and sharing data is that it can feel really intrusive. It can feel like, you know, somebody's looking over your shoulder all the time. And it can feel like you might be judged about what did or didn't happen or how you responded. And I've experienced this recently. I went through a period where I was making some changes to my medications and my glucose levels got more volatile, and I was experiencing hypos. And because it was a connected device, my doctor knew, and I would get a call after I had a hypo from a nurse, actually a pharmacist, kind of checking in and asking me what happened and how I responded and how I felt about it and how, what I thought was causing it. And that was great. The first couple of times it happened. But, after it became a regular thing, I started to dread my phone ringing. And I knew the number from the caller ID, and it was just like, am I going to answer it or send it to voicemail? And I found myself sending it to voicemail probably more than was helpful. But in the end, in the moment I was feeling like I was playing a game called Defend Your Life. But, over the course of those calls and conversations, it became clear to me that it wasn't an isolated happening. And even though I was focused on what had happened that particular day, that at one point they pointed out to me that I had gone low 4 times in 2 weeks. And I wasn't aware of that. I hadn't looked back. So that was very helpful. It gave me a new insight into, okay, something else is going on here and I need to pay attention in a different way. So, it's two sides of the same coin, and you have to find a way to, I think, get more of the positive and helpful and less of the intrusive and annoying. And I think, one of the biggest things, most important things you can do is in diabetes care, period, but also when it comes to making decisions about what kind of connected care and devices to use, is build a relationship with your provider. You want to be seen as an individual. You don't want to be seen as a set of lab tests and a list of ailments. And there is, I have found that with some providers, I've sort of had to prove myself that I know what I'm talking about, or that I have, I have a legitimate reason for wanting particular devices or wanting to use particular approaches to managing my diabetes. And that can feel like, it should be that way. But on the other hand, I kind of understand it. They want to make sure that what I'm doing, I'm still safe. There are limitations in terms of insurance, and there's limitations in terms of just the resources and the money I have available to manage my health. So all of that goes into it. But I think building a relationship, understanding that that's going to change over time. Sometimes the relationship is not good and it's time to change providers or make changes to your care in other ways. All of that is part of managing diabetes overall, managing your health overall, and working with connected health and connected devices. I think about where I was at when I was first diagnosed and where I am now, and really the things that I'm looking for from my care provider and connected care and any devices that I use are really quite different. And it goes back to that idea that Andrea shared earlier about, the right tech at the right time, the right tech for you. That's going to, as time goes on, as your health changes, as, things become more or less available, all of that is going to influence what you want and what you need and what's available to you. The bottom line, do I always get what I want? Nah, life doesn't work that way. It would be great if it did. But I realize that that's the case. And I do realize that, I'm dependent on my provider for anything that requires a prescription. So I can't just go to the pharmacist or the pharmacy and, get this or that and be on my merry way. So they play a role in my access and my ability to use and the support and education I get for any device that I'm going to use. And this one of the sticking points is I also realize that if I've got a connected device, my provider is most likely going to want to see my data. And, that's something to think about. How do you feel about that? What are you willing to share automatically? And what are you not comfortable just having, sent off automatically for them to see and make judgments about or monitor without the ability to, give the backstory or provide some context to what they're seeing, or asking a question about what asking a question that would help you understand better what's going on. So that's a big thing to consider. And depending upon what healthcare situation you're in and what country you're in, I know that people have different rights about how much of their data they can choose to share. But I think also a lot of that is influenced by the personal relationship you have with your provider. And if there's a trust and an understanding and a mutual respect there, I think that leads to more flexibility in terms of individualizing, what data you share and how that data is used and how that data is used to make decisions about your care going forward.
Corinna, thank you so much. I think that there is so much in there that I want to unpack, and we've had so many comments come in. I know that we're going to flash some up along the bottom there. So yes, people with diabetes are legitimate to ask about treatments that would be better for us. I think that's absolutely true. The thing in there that I really loved, though, was the piece where you were talking about confidence. And I think that that's something that is so important. And I think we might unpack that a little bit more when it comes to our panel discussion. I love that comment from Solo. defend your life, because I think that that's one of the things we certainly want to feel more confident with whatever it is that we're doing. That should actually be definitely very much part, I guess, of the discussion that we have with our healthcare professionals. And this beautiful comment, listening to the perspective of a person with diabetes, it's fascinating how similar the challenges are for all people with diabetes, yet diverse representation is crucial. Yes, yes, yes. I would like to shout that, but I would wake my family. But thank you so much, Corinna. I can't wait to bring you back on at the end. And look, more comments. This is a great one too. Great to hear from people with type 2 diabetes. Yes, it really is. And I'm very, very grateful to hear your voice and to hear your experiences today. And clearly, so are all the people watching. Thank you very, very, very much.